Kia ora koutou, welcome to your weekly live. So we are on the verge of level 3, hopefully next week, and I think many of us are thinking, okay, what does that mean and what does our post-lockdown life look like? I think there's an element of some light at the end of the tunnel. But before we all go rushing back to normal, I think it's a great opportunity for us to sit and consider, what do we want normal to look like? Because there will be a new normal beyond this, and we have the opportunity to define our normal and almost make the most of this opportunity that maybe the perspective of being in lockdown has given us, because our lives have changed, and there might have been things about that we've disliked and things about that we've really enjoyed. So it's a great opportunity for us to reflect on our lockdown experience. Do I like the bubble that I find myself in? What do I like about my job? Am I looking forward to going back to work if I get that opportunity next week or in level 2? And what about commuting and working from home? How have I adjusted and adapted to that? And what bits of life that I've now seen through this lens of perspective do I want to make sure that I keep hold of when we go back to our new normal? So maybe that's time with family, maybe that's sitting around a dinner table together, the daily walks that we've all been going on. So have a think about what your lockdown life has been like and what you want to define your new normal post-lockdown as well. I think for me, as I reflect, I've enjoyed this time, and I know that's not the case for everybody, but for me, I've enjoyed this time. But that really has been because 5 years ago, I had my own lockdown moment and I didn't enjoy that experience. So I just wanted to share a bit about that with you today, because it might be similar to what some of you are experiencing as we come out of lockdown now. And so for me, 5 years ago, I was in the corporate world. I burned out, but I'd also physically, I had a ruptured cruciate that collapsed incidentally at the gym at a step class on the eve of my 31st birthday after work. And that meant that I was at home on the sofa for a long time, recovering from both of those things. And having that enforced lockdown helped me reflect on my life. And what I realised was that I was in the wrong bubble. I was in a relationship I'd outgrown. I also realised that I didn't enjoy my job. And that was the catalyst. I've pretty much spent the last 5 years fixing that. But the perspective I got from that enforced lockdown was about who I was as a person, what I wanted my life to look like, the things that I loved about life and the things that I didn't, the things that I would like to do differently. And from that point on, I've been redesigning my life around who I am, what my values are, and my passions. That includes the work that I do, the people that I'm with, and the life that I lead. So sometimes having this enforced lockdown, whatever causes it, the result is it gives them some perspective on our life. So I'd encourage you to use that perspective and think about, what does your new normal look like, and how might you define that? So we know that life is going to change a little bit, and that takes some adapting. And you'll have seen, we talked on the webinar that we did this week about thriving. We talked about that resistance to change and going with the flow, and also I mentioned it on last week's live as well. So it's been different for everybody, and I've been fascinated hearing your stories about what you've enjoyed about this time, and also the challenges, what you haven't enjoyed about this time. And the one thing that always fascinates me is that we are all different. So have a look around. What can we learn from others? What can we learn from our own experiences? Because if this has been challenging for you, then it's normally from our challenges that we learn the biggest lessons, and that we grow. So how can we use this time and use this period as we go back into normal to make it a new normal and make it different, particularly around our busyness, the busyness of our lives. And all of a sudden life has slowed somewhat. The pace may have slowed somewhat for some of us. So what does new normal look like, and what do we want to keep about that stuff? I think it's interesting that the human condition always means that we want what we can't have. So we've spent most of this year being too busy and longing for some downtime. And now we've had all this downtime, we're longing to get out of it. There's always an element of wanting to be somewhere else, somewhere that we're not yet. But I'm hoping that some good can come out of this, and that we get to define our new normal. So I'll leave you with that, and I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Mā te wā.